animals, you see the animals and you do those little finger paintings with the rainbow and all that. And we're taught Noah made a boat. And yeah, Noah did make a boat. But let me tell you something. It was more than just a boat, guys. Understand that. God's trying to reconcile man back. God gave specific designs for three things. The tabernacle, the temple. What are those? Those were dwelling places for God. Am I correct? We look at the ark being built 3 stories. It has the same exact dimensions and concepts that the tabernacle and the temple had. So as we lay that out, it was more just a boat, y'all. It was the house of God. God was going to dwell with Noah as they go through this. You know, it's like I was talking to Rick this morning in church before we came up. And I said, you know, Rick, it's amazing. You know, we look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. God didn't pull them out of the fire. Jesus went in with them. Okay? This is the same thing. God didn't take Noah out of the ark, didn't take his kingdom out. God's going to be there with them. Because as we read further on, we see God closes the door to the ark himself. Not Noah. God closed the door to the ark. So he created something more than just a boat. But I understand as kids we're taught, Noah worked 120 years, he created a boat. Yeah, he did, and it was that purpose that it served. But if we look at it, it was actually greater than that. Because it was a home. It was a home for him and his family. It was a sanctuary. And also a temple for God. So God always has a plan, guys. That's my thing I want to iterate the most. You know, God knew this plan was a plan of judgment. The first one that he made back in chapter 3 of Genesis is the plan of redemption. What we see here is a plan of judgment. So God has many different plans that can be going on at one time. He's judging the earth. And he has to. It was so full of sin and so full of corruption. God had to judge. If he's a just God, where he seeks justice, if he's a just and sovereign God, where nothing goes unpunished because evil can't go unpunished, sin can't go unpunished, he has to judge. That's what this is about. And it was such an evil and such a corrupt sin, and man had gotten so bad that he even corrupted their creation. So he's going to destroy the creation with the creation. You see that? He's using what he created to destroy it. Now I want you to understand. God made this covenant with Noah. To me, that's another plan. You see where I'm going? He gave him the plans to lay out the ark. We got the redemption plan. But this is a plan not only to save Noah. I want you to think about this. He becomes Noah's provider. He becomes Noah's and his family's protector and his deliverer. See, God knew, listen to this, now this is the plan. God knew that as soon as that boat landed on ground, there wasn't going to be enough stuff growing up yet. They can't plow, they can't plant yet. It takes time for that to grow. He got them to store up, as we read here at the end of the chapter, provisions for even whenever the ark landed on the ground and they came out. God has a plan through everything. Okay? God, I know we don't understand a lot of times. I can tell you right now, there's times I never understood. And I'm going, God, why? Why are we doing this? Can y'all imagine that's what Noah's doing? God's telling Noah, make a boat, make a ship, build it. It's going to take 120 years. And he's telling them to do this in a world that has never seen rain. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Doesn't to me. And I'm sure Noah's sitting there going, God, this don't make sense. You're talking about something rain and stuff we ain't never seen. We've never done that. But what did he do? He did it anyway. Because God told him. Okay? But let me tell y'all something about God and his plan. God's plans are always precise and they're always meticulous. See, what makes God and his plan so great is he sees the bigger picture, guys. He sees this. all we see is this. When you're looking at a puzzle, he sees the whole puzzle together, where all we see is a piece. That's what makes his plan so good, because he has the knowledge and the perspective that we don't. We may not understand it. We may not always want to follow it. It may go against something that we're not comfortable with. But God's plan is always going to be to benefit you. What does Jeremiah 29:11 say? It says, I know the plans I have for you, the plans I have to prosper you and to grow you, not plans of destruction, not plans to hurt you. See, God always has a plan in our lives, guys. And he had a plan here. And it took Noah and his family to carry out that plan. He also had the plan in place of, well, this redemptive story's got to continue. So he had a plan for that. See, that's what makes God so great. Because he always knows. He's all-knowing. He doesn't have to have faith like we do. He knows. Think about that. Faith is trust. That's what we do. We trust in God. But God don't have to have faith. He's an all-knowing God. He's created everything. He's not restrained by time. He's not restrained by people. He's not restrained by things. He doesn't have to have faith because he knows what he can do and what he's going to do. So he's not restrained by faith like we are. But see, that brings us to the second point. Second point we need to see in this scripture is God promised, God's faithful to his promises. Okay? God made a promise in chapter 3 of Genesis that there would be an offspring of the woman that would crush the head of the serpent. Even though he decided man needed to be destroyed and this corrupt world needed to be destroyed, he had a plan. And he holds true to that faithfulness. If we read further on, we see God makes a covenant with Noah. God honors that. Now, I'm sure there were times that Noah and his family were probably scared. I'm sure the boats tossed them back and forth. God promises them, I'll be your protector, I'll be your provider, your deliverer. And I'm sure there were times that on that ship, on that boat, on that ark, they were really scared. But at the same time, we say, well, God's presence is in there. Were they really? I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say that. But I know God comforts me even when I'm going through things that I don't understand. So I feel like they were too. But that doesn't mean I don't get nervous about things or I don't get scared. Even though I know God's there, I do. It's just man. That's just what we are. That's what we do. But God has a plan, and he's always faithful to it. That's the reason why, guys, I can stand up here and tell you it's very important that we turn over every aspect of our lives to him. We can't hold an aspect of our lives back because God is true to his promises. And if we turn our lives over to him and he promises to take care of us, he promises to only do good for us, he promises to prosper us, then what have we got to lose? He's going to be faithful to his word. We can see it all the way through Scripture. Am I correct or not? I mean, when you look at things that God's done, yes, he made David a covenant promise that the bloodline of Jesus come through him, even though David was a murderer and an adulterer. God's still true to his promises. God promises to make a nation out of Israel, out of Abraham's offspring, does he not? He does. Well, they were in slavery in Egypt for 430 years. He brought them out. They still went against him. So that whole generation had to die off. But even true to those promises, he stood by. He's faithful to what he promised Abraham. And you see, Israel is a great nation, as numbers as the sand on the beach. So God always stands faithful to his promises. God promised Noah that he would destroy the earth. He would not destroy earth again with water. And he sealed that promise with a rainbow. Now today we see the rainbow being used in a way that I don't think is appropriate. But that was an original covenant promise with Noah that symbolizes that God will never destroy the earth